the Sphinx was not a burial chamber. It probably was not, and again, like I got a whole talk I do just on the Giza Plateau. If you look at it from the side, you'll see that the head is really, it doesn't fit the body. It's too small. It's in far too good a shape. One of the interesting things is if you're familiar with a phenomenon called the precession of the equinoxes, you know, yeah. So the sky in the direction that the pyramid, that the Sphinx is facing, if using archaeoastronomy, using a computer to go back and look at the sky to find a time when the constellation Leo was rising directly in front of the Sphinx, you arrive at 12,500, approximately 12,500 BC, which is the same date where we get to the foundation level of the Osirian in Abydos. It's also one of the interesting things is, and I'm just sort of touching some stuff very, very quickly. If you look at the body of the Sphinx, so the Sphinx, its entire, throughout all of recorded history, was buried up to its chin. And it was uncovered prior to the modern age twice. And we know this definitively. There's a team of people, their full-time job is to keep the Sphinx enclosure free and clear from sand. If they stop doing their job, within a month, the sand is ankle deep.
Is that right?
Within a year, it's up over the paws, sorry. Within a year, it's up over the paws.
Oh, because it just keeps blowing?
It just, yeah, because it's a big hole. Right?
But at the time this was built, was that all forest out there and green grass?
Well, that's exactly the thing. So, throughout all of recorded history, it's been covered like literally up to here,
yeah.
Right? There's a very famous instance. This is actually something called the Dreaming Stela. There was a young pharaoh. He wasn't a pharaoh, but he's a young son of royal descent. He's out hunting. And he goes to sleep under the shadow of the Sphinx's chin, and he has a dream. And the Sphinx says, you know, clear me and restore me, and I'll make you king. So he does, and he becomes king. And that's what the Dreaming Stela says. So that's the first time that it was cleared. And the reason that this is important is because if you look at the weathering on the body, you can see that it has these horizontal, you know, patterns to it. So this is it's a kind of a shitty piece of sandstone.
But like tree rings then.
Yeah, well, and what this is showing is that is erosion from wind, right?
Yes.
That, geologists look at that and they go, that's what happens to bad sandstone when wind blows over it century after century. If you look at the walls here, do you see this? These vertical,
yeah.
Right? So there are two things about it. First of all, this could not be caused by wind erosion because all of this structure here was completely covered by sand,
yeah.
Right? But the other thing is that when geologists look at this, they go, that's not caused by wind. This pattern, these smooth, rounded vertical, is water. Yeah. Water erosion. Now the problem with that is that Egypt has been dry as a bone throughout all of recorded history. Right. We know pretty specifically when the conditions, the meteorological conditions in Egypt were different, when it was a subtropical or a tropical environment where this whole area was, you know, a forest, etc., and where it was subject to torrential rains for centuries. And again, we go back to a date of approximately 12,500 BC. This keeps cropping up. This is the smoking gun, this date of, you know, 12,500 BC. That, when the Egyptians came along, they found a sculpture of a lion. And that the pharaoh then recarved, I mean, look how different it is, right? Yeah. The pharaoh then recarved his own face to replace the lion head. Oh. And that all of the physical evidence, whether it's the archaeoastronomy of the Sphinx pointing at the constellation Leo in 12,500 BC, the weathering, you know, all of these things, you know, point to a period of 10,000 years earlier for when this thing was actually made. And that then the Egyptians came along.
These are paws of a lion, aren't they?
Yeah. And one of the other things is like this was made like in the 1960s, like these stones here. So, you know, the Sphinx has been patched and repaired and, you know, but, you know, even going back to before this repair started, yeah, these were the paws of a lion. And when you see it from the side, I don't have a picture of it from the side, unfortunately. when you see it from the side, yeah, it's a you know, a lion. Although I read a very interesting theory. Again, I apologize, I don't have a picture of it from the side. Its head is like straight up.
Yeah.
And the guy that was promulgating this theory said that's not what cats do. And he shows you all these pictures of cats. He's like, lion, that doesn't look like a lion. What does that look like? It looks like a dog. So what was it? It was a jackal. It was Anubis. And this was the head of Anubis, and not the head. So it's a dog and not a cat.